Hello and welcome, fellow digital soldiers, to True Reporting. It is the 4th of March, and on today's podcast, we will be going over a ton of news articles covering Keith Raniere being put in solitary confinement for catching a beatdown in prison. That's actually great news. Also, we'll be going over prosecuting major criminals behind the badge with Utah's U.S. attorneys. And we know John Huber comes from Utah, and the death penalty is very strong in Utah, which is where a lot of tribunals, I believe, in my opinion, could be taking place in the state of Utah. Also, we will be going over WikiLeaks veteran. I cooperated with feds in exchange for immunity. I believe that WikiLeaks is no longer what it used to be. I believe since Julian Assange has been in captivity, for lack of a better word, in the Ecuadorian embassy, that they have definitely been compromised. And they seem to be throwing WikiLeaks and Julian Assange under the bus. And last and finally, but not least, by any means, Jerome Corsi. I saw this Daily Beast article trending on Twitter, and it's huge. InfoWars retract and apologize for spreading Seth Rich DNC murder conspiracy theory. We all know what QAnon has told us about Jerome Corsi and how he is part of the Mossad and also tried to hijack the Q board. He actually was successful doing that, and I'm just glad that that's over with and the truth has been brought to light. Also, my friends, throughout this article, I will be going over the QAnon posts dating back, showing the proof of Jerome Corsi being part of the Mossad. But before we get into any of that, my friends, would you please go ahead and click the bell to get notifications? I have been shadow banned. Also, follow me on Twitter on True Reporting. And don't forget to leave a like. The more likes that this video receives, the more times it is recommended to other viewers, thus more eyes on the truth. And with that being said, my friends, let's go ahead and hop into it. This is True Reporting. So, like I said before, this article is definitely trending right now on Twitter. And the fact that this is considered Seth Rich's DNC conspiracy theory, I don't believe it to be a conspiracy theory at all. I believe he really was murdered for leaking documents to WikiLeaks, which is incredible. But continuing on, we see right-wing conspiracy theorist Jerome Corsi on Monday officially retracted and apologized for an InfoWars article he wrote in 2018, claiming that murdered Democrat National Committee staffer Seth Rich and his brother Aaron Rich leaked DNC emails to WikiLeaks during the 2016 election. And I find that to be 100% true. How is that even a conspiracy? When Seth Rich was murdered, they were saying that it was a robbery, yet his watch, his wallet, his money, his credit cards, everything was left on his body. So how there's a huge conspiracy. He was, quote unquote, whacked, in my opinion, by deep state goons. Dr. Corsi acknowledges that his allegations were not based upon any independent factual knowledge regarding Seth or Aaron Rich. A statement on InfoWars read, the website claimed that Corsi based his false claims off a Washington Times column by retired administrator James Lyons, which was also retracted late last year. It was not Dr. Corsi's intent to rely upon inaccurate information or to cause any suffering to the Rich family, the statement read. To that end, Dr. Corsi retracts the article and apologizes to the Rich family. So, he also says that in a tweet, Jerome R. Corsi, PhD, I'm not being threatened. My retracted article in error relied on a retracted Washington Times article that was retracted for making false statements. We all know that these are not false statements. And we can see here we cannot trust Jerome Corsi because he is in fact Mossad. And we can see here from this 1995 picture from left to right, translator, Darius Spoper, Dr. Jerry Corsi, Mel Rockefeller. And we can see here, follow the picture. Jerome Corsi, who I outed as a Mossad asset agent in 1997 sting operation in London. Corsi and Piper Jaffray, broker Broad Edmondson, were integral to a fraud that took Minnesota investors for $1 million that the FBI refused to properly investigate And this was on the Q board. Follow the picture, he says. Also, fake MAGA. Beware of bad people pretending to be good, e.g. Jerome Corsi. Everything stated has a purpose. We can scroll down even further. Corsi attempted to infiltrate Q. So you can find these on your own. You can just definitely go into the Q map, qmap.pub, and type in Corsi, which I have done. Also, Jerome Corsi and Alex Jones, flunky, is subpoenaed in Mueller investigation. We cannot trust Alex Jones. Apparently, the info war against Q, Jones, and Corsi. This is why we are here, he says. And this is from back in May. A lot going on back then, as you can remember. The infiltration was almost fatal to the Q researchers, trying to make us look like dunces. But nevertheless, we all prevail, right? So I wanted to hop into this. WikiLeaks veteran, I cooperated with feds in exchange for immunity, he says. A grand jury probe that began 9 years ago is ongoing, and one of Julian Assange's old crew is now talking. I'm on the street, not in an embassy, he tells the Daily Beast. And just from reading this first paragraph, you're going to see what his intentions are. Late Thursday, Manning revealed that she's fighting a subpoena to testify before a grand jury that's been investigating Julian Assange for nearly 9 years. But Manning isn't the only one being dragged into the aging probe of WikiLeaks' first big haul. A former WikiLeaks volunteer who was also personal friends with Manning was subpoenaed last May. But unlike Manning, he did not fight the subpoena. He accepted an immunity deal offered by prosecutors. It's the second person in Assange's border orbit publicly known to have cooperated with prosecutors in their nearly decade-long pursuit of WikiLeaks. So if you're cooperating with prosecutors, the prosecutors are probably paid off. They're probably getting kickbacks. And just to get information on Assange, to besmirch his name, in my opinion, this article is pretty much that entirely. Is this guy is just trying to besmirch Julian Assange. And in my opinion, Julian Assange is a patriot and a hero. And I will not step on those words. I really won't. I will not retract those words. I really believe that. And again, like I said before, good news, good news. Breaking news, Vanguard, which is Keith Raniere, in solitary confinement. This is from yesterday, and it says, following a beating administered to Keith Raniere by several inmates, Raniere has been removed out of general population at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. The technical name for where Keith Raniere is now housed is called the Special Housing Unit, or SHU. It is akin to solitary confinement insofar as Raniere is confined to his small locked cell 23 hours per day. He is allowed 1 hour out per day for recreation outside of his cell. He is handcuffed for the entire hour. He is also accorded, as is true for all petrol detainees, the right to visit with his attorneys. When they visit, Raniere is strip searched and an inspection is made of his anal cavity. I love every bit of this. This is great. For all the horrible, harmful things he's done to children and anyone who was under the spell of MK Ultra, satanic ritual abuse. This guy was in on all of that, my friends. On the way to the attorney visitor's room and strip searched again where he leaves prior to going back to his cell. So, being incarcerated is hard, they say. Being incarcerated at a Metropolitan Detention Center is harder. Being incarcerated at the MDC and being hated by your fellow prisoners is the hardest. But that's what Keith Allen Raniere, a.k.a. the Vanguard, now faces every day. And there's little advice for the Vanguard. After you get convicted, and there's a 97% chance of that happening, your next prison is not going to be any better. Welcome to hell on earth. And my goodness, does he deserve every last bit of it, my friends. And finally, the last article I have to show to you, I'll blow it up for you real quick so you can read along. Prosecuting major criminals behind the badge with Utah's U.S. attorneys. 6 new assistant U.S. attorneys hired to help with crimes in Utah. Now, my friends, you will get to see what these crimes are and how these attorney generals feel about it. And remember, Huber who is part of the hammer coming down on the cabal, is an attorney general from Utah. And it says here, Salt Lake City, drugs, illegal immigration, violent crimes. These are big issues in Utah. And while you may not think they impact you, they do. That's why the U.S. Attorney Office in Utah has added 6 new prosecutors to its team. In this week, Behind the Badge report, we meet a couple of new prosecutors and talk to the U.S. Attorney about how they are protecting Utah. Christina Ortega is the Assistant U.S. Attorney here in Utah. My primary focus, here we go, in the violent crime team is child porn cases. That means she prosecutes those who prey on our children, and unfortunately, that happens frequently in Utah. I came here ready to work, and the work was there. The former Davis County and Salt Lake County prosecutor says that this is what she has wanted to do since childhood. I knew I wanted to be a prosecutor when I was in an elementary school, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. Ortega is one of the 6 assistant attorneys hired in the fall after the Trump administration allocated 300 positions nationwide to fight violent crimes, drugs, and illegal immigration. U.S. Attorney John Huber talked about the value of his new prosecutors. I cannot overstate the positive impact these positions will have in Utah for decades to come. We competed nationally to get these positions. Huber says every one of the prosecutors is already handling about 20 cases. They range from domestic terrorism to court-authorized wiretaps of criminal investigations to child pedophiles and those who would exploit our children, criminal aliens, big fraud schemes. So, my friends, a lot of brutality is coming from Utah, and I believe that there could be military tribunals held in Utah, also happening in Puerto Rico, and also happening at Gitmo. So, a lot going on, my friends. If you found these articles informative and you enjoyed them, please subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at True Reporting, and also leave a like. I have been shadow banned, my friends, and the best way to follow and get notifications from me is definitely when I post to Twitter, letting you know that we're going live. This channel also does live call-in shows from 8 to 9, Monday through Friday. Obviously, tonight's not a good night because it is quite late here on the East Coast. But my friends, I hope you are doing well. Take care of one another, love one another, and be sure to keep in touch. I will talk to you soon, my friends. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.